Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Good morning to y'all. Another gorgeous day. I'm not going to be saying that next week when it's in the 90s. I'm not going to. Too much for me. But this glorious day. I'm given to saying the date about here, so I'll just say it. It's the 12th of June. Lots going on, which is going to be true for, I suspect, the rest of our lives. 5 months till the election. Pace yourselves, all I can say. So the jury didn't take long in the Hunter Biden case. Where did I see that it is so rare for a case like this to be brought? It's just rarely done, and quite clearly, being the president's son in this political climate is the reason that he ended up in a court of law on this charge, which is, as I said, rarely brought in a case where no other crime has been committed. And it's hard not to feel sorry for the guy. I mean, man, we all pay for our bad choices. This guy's paying with interest. And speaking of interest, the next case up for him in September is also likely to be a guilty verdict for all of the tax evasion that he committed back when he was not in his right mind, but was in fact a drug addict. And since that time, he has repaid all of those taxes. So the federal government has been made whole and has been made whole for, I think 3 years. So it's not a matter of collecting the taxes and the interest. He's paid it. So again, this one is just about, I don't know. I don't quite even understand it. If somebody makes good, I don't get it. But I think this is another instance, as in this gun case, that this prosecution would not have happened. It would not be brought against another person who didn't happen to be the son of a president in this political climate. And, it was interesting how when the trial was going on, this trial, his latest trial, the one that ended yesterday, the Republicans who, have been salivating, frothing at the mouth to get him, accusing him of, high crimes and misdemeanors, of unbelievable criminal activity, none of which has been able to stick. So they're getting him on these lower level crimes. But the Republicans during this trial, you could hear a pin drop. They were so quiet. And to quiet this crowd of yawping hyenas is astonishing. But if you'll think about it, they were quiet. They haven't been quiet during Trump's trial. They haven't been quiet about anything I can think of. But when Hunter Biden and his case played out, they went silent. And your guess is as good as mine, but I suspect there was nothing in it for him. Because, in fact, it was hard to follow that trial because it was one family's dirty laundry, one family's emotional trauma and pain, one family's struggle with addiction playing out in a public space. And unless you're some kind of a voyeur who enjoys watching other people's misery, I don't think, you revel in it. And even Republicans knew that. I think people paying attention would have felt maybe a measure of sympathy, right? So they shut up. And also they shut up because it was about guns. And it was a guy who bought a gun. Republicans love guys who buy guns. They're trying to make all of these requirements, like the one he got him in trouble, that he was using drugs when he purchased the gun. They'd like those requirements to go away. So this was like a very uncomfortable reality, this trial. And in fact, I was seeing that Matt Gaetz, for instance, one of the yawpers, somebody who's never quiet, actually, when the conviction came out yesterday, tweeted that this conviction is kind of dumb, to be honest. He didn't approve of it. Because he doesn't approve of the background checks and all this kind, any hoop anybody might have to go through to purchase a gun. And in fact, one of his other Republican housemates, Tom Massey, said this: Hunter might deserve to be in jail for something, but purchasing a gun is not it. There are millions of marijuana users who own guns in this country, and none of them should be in jail. So there you have it. There's some understanding of why the Republicans were, MIA over this last week. But I think the thing that I found most wrenching about it was I cannot imagine the impact on his father. This is a father, I needn't go over the history. He's already buried one wife, 2 children. This is his survivor, Hunter, who also had to deal with all of this loss, and it was his brother's death that truly unhinged him. And Joe Biden, as far as any of us can tell, is a truly loving father. And he's been unequivocal in his support for his son through all of his struggles. And now layer onto that an old man seeing his son and his tawdry history, seeing his grandchildren and daughters-in-law having to make public the worst moments of their lives. And how that would, I mean, any of you who are parents, how that would rip you apart. Now, if this were a case in our families, it would rip us apart, but it wouldn't be front page news. Nobody else would give a damn. So to have all this going on and to have your son experiencing this after all that he has been through and overcome, it would break your heart. And knowing that his trials are not over, literally and figuratively, and knowing that those trials would not even be occurring in part because of you and your position as president. And then when you think this old man dealing with this is not retired, he's not sitting at home, he's got the toughest job, one of the toughest jobs in the world. It requires him to essentially be at work 24/7. And in the week of the trial, it required him to be in Europe, giving speeches, meeting with world leaders. His wife was back and forth across the Atlantic, showing up. There she is in the courtroom one minute, and there she is alongside her husband in France the next. And Joe Biden just got back yesterday in time to, and Hunter greeted him, and the picture of them hugging, the first hug, the first time they've been together since the conviction, will tear your heart out. I look at Joe Biden, and for the life of me, I cannot comprehend how he does it. If everything was hunky-dory in my life, in my family, my health, everything, I could no more, and I'm younger than him, I could no more do what he's doing than I can do a cartwheel, and I can't. We are watching a guy literally give his life for his country. We know presidency ages anyone who's in it, except perhaps Donald Trump, because of the burden and the responsibility that a president carries. And yes, he's an old man. So I'm thinking of that line from the Gettysburg Address. We're looking at a true patriot, a true public servant, giving his last full measure of devotion to the country he loves. And it makes him heroic in my eyes. And of course, that he has steadfastly said he's not going to pardon his son. He does have the power to. He's not going to. Because he, unlike the man he will be running against, of course, honors law and the rule of law. That anybody looking at these two men would choose anybody but this clearly fine man is beyond me. and will be till my dying day. David Axelrod, the commentator now, but who was the advisor to President Obama, said, "What normal human being would not be torn apart to see his family's anguish played out in a courtroom in front of the world, and to see people you love having to testify, not just your son, but your daughters-in-law, your granddaughter, all reliving the most painful moments of their lives? Who wouldn't be shattered by that?" Yeah. But it is not over for them. It is not over for them. My heart goes out to them. Okay, what else do I have here? I got lots. I can't believe it, but again, somebody who believes in the rule of law, the district attorney in New York City, Alvin Bragg, who led, obviously, the conviction of the former president. He, of course, is now targeted in more ways than we can imagine by those intending to extract vengeance. And vengeance seems to be, if there's a theme for the Republicans in this election season, it's that vengeance. Not the shining city on a hill, nothing glowing or positive or pulling us together. It's flat out vengeance. And so, of course, Jim Jordan, who unbelievably oversees the House Judiciary Committee, is gunning for Bragg. And he asked Bragg to come in, and you know what these clown shows look like, to come in and appear before the House Judiciary Committee and be slandered and sullied and accused of and this and that. And why would anybody do it? The fact of the matter is I don't believe, the House, the Congress has no oversight of a district attorney in Manhattan. But Bragg is going to show up. And he knows what he's showing up for. And he said, in accepting this invitation, it undermines the rule of law to spread dangerous misinformation, baseless claims, and conspiracy theories following the jury's return of a full count felony conviction in People versus Trump. Nonetheless, we respect our government institutions and plan to appear voluntarily before the committee. What a clown show that is going to be. And see, the thing is this will be front page news. This will be top of the network news and the cable news. And in reality, it's a total distraction. It has nothing, nothing will come of it. It has nothing to do. It's a clown show. It's the performative politics engaged in by the Vengeance Party. And none of us should even bother looking. And here's where the media do let us down constantly, consistently. Nothing can come of this show. We know how the show will go. So why would you waste a precious minute or two covering it when there is so much other news that is important for people to know? It's beyond me. I just saw a flash that Jerry West has died. I didn't realize that. His silhouette, he's such a huge, it's his silhouette on the NBA logo. He was 86 years old. Whoa. Well, listen, I'll tell you what. Speaking of sports, I came across this sports related. I came upon this in the Athletic, which is a sports newsletter I subscribe to, and it's pretty much now what the New York Times sports section consists of. I'm not sure what their arrangement is, but that is the case. So I saw the headline, "The rookie is already really, really good." And I wondered if it was about one of our own Pittsburgh Pirates, and it was. And it is about Paul. Is it Skins? I looked it up and it wasn't even clear, and I haven't heard anybody say it. This guy is blowing them away and he's just. So here's what it says. The 22-year-old's second start. Yeah, his first start was a little disappointing. The 22-year-old's second start fully announced his presence. Facing the Cubs for the second time, he struck out 11 over 6 scoreless innings. And this against a team that had already seen him. It's absurd. And then in his fifth start, facing somebody who's believed to be Babe Ruth and then some incarnate, that is Ohtani, he blew 3 straight 100-mile-per-hour fastballs right by the best hitter in baseball. And obviously, Ohtani next time up, he hit one. And I believe that was a home run, right? It went over the center field fence. And the guy writing this says, it really was great theater. A rookie drafted 11 months prior, clearly belonging on the field with the world's greatest batsman. And then there was this, and I didn't know this. This is amazing. And then last night, or maybe the night before, if I saw this later, in only his sixth career Major League Baseball start, he fanned 8 St. Louis Cardinals and got a standing ovation from the St. Louis fans after throwing another 6 scoreless innings. This guy is a phenom. It says here that he hasn't thrown enough to qualify in major stat categories yet, so they can't even really do his statistics. But his 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings would put him in first place. So, wow. Says here we're witnessing a wonderful beginning for a generational prospect. He's good enough to make us wonder if the Pirates might actually buy at the trade deadline. Oh, God help us. Could we keep him? Please? So, the other thing that's going on today that we have mentioned in the past is the shareholders, Tesla shareholders, are voting to, I think today or tomorrow, on whether or not to give Elon Musk a bonus. You know how much the bonus is? $50 billion. I was talking yesterday about the obscene, just the obscenity of the difference of what most people, the 99.9% of people's labor is valued at, and what these sons of bitches at the top who can't get enough, how they just keep pulling farther and farther away, needing more and more. I mean, obviously they don't need more, but in their damaged souls, they do. In their insatiable egos, they do. So here you have a board of directors of a corporation actually voting on whether or not to give the SOB, who technically they hire, whether or not to give him a bonus of about $50 billion. You know, that's more than what Congress appropriated for the United States to give to Ukraine. I mean, that sort of puts it in some perspective. This is the issue created by the state of Delaware. I'm not sure where he's incorporated, where Tesla's incorporated, I guess. And they said this bonus is so out of whack that, and it was not properly arrived at. It wasn't the product of negotiation between the board and Musk. And so this now is the effort to remedy that on the part of Tesla. And there is no one in their right mind who thinks this should happen. Now, on the Tesla board are some big institutional investors, including the California Teachers Retirement Fund. They will be voting no. Another big holder, actually the 8th largest Tesla shareholder, is, get this, Norway. Yeah, Norway's sovereign wealth fund. It has said it will be voting no. And the chief executive of the Norway's fund said, we are seeing corporate greed reaching a level that we have never seen before, and it is really becoming very costly for shareholders. Well, it's costly for much more than that. It is costly to uh, the idea of fairness, justice, equality, just I, I'll fill in the blank. Musk is telling the shareholders who are going to be voting on this that if they don't vote in favor of it and give him the 50 billion, he intends to redirect his energies to the other companies he owns. Now, I don't understand quite how that threat plays out, but this is such a, I don't know. I was going to call him a man child, but there's so many men child around in our heads, holding so much power that it's just getting to be maddening. And they're destabilizing everything because of their insatiable egos and empty hearts. Well, let's see what else I have. Whoops, I pushed the wrong button here. We're still here, right? Yeah, okay, sorry. Something else I have. Oh, this unbelievable story. Now, this would be, the Four Tops, right? And I want to thank Ruth for sending this to me because this was reported by the BBC. I didn't see it. Now, the Four Tops, I mean, the originals, I don't know, but I'm suspecting many of them are dead and gone. But like many iconic groups, new people are brought aboard so that they can keep on keeping on. And one of the members of the current group is a guy named Alexander Morris. And he was having a serious health event. And so he went to the hospital, to the emergency room. He was having chest pain. He was having difficulty breathing. It sure as hell looked, in many respects, like a heart attack. And in fact, he was later diagnosed with a heart condition and pneumonia, and ended up suffering 3 seizures in the hospital. Now, this took place in 2019. The reason I'm telling you the story now is because it's come into the news cycle by virtue of the fact that he's suing. He's suing the hospital, given the treatment he received there. When he was brought into the hospital, he said he told the nurse and the guard that was there, because when you go to an ER now, you see a guard, it's true, and a nurse. And he said he told them who he was, and for whatever reason, he told them he was, in the Four Tops. Well, they took that as an indication that he was nuts. He told the doctor he had difficulty breathing, he had chest pain, and he had a history. But the staff at the hospital continued to just assume he was nuts because he kept because of having revealed that he was a celebrity and that he had some kind of delusion. So they took him off oxygen, put him in a straitjacket, while he struggled to breathe, his wife desperately trying to advocate for him was ignored. And then she or he, somebody, thought, hey, show these racist SOBs, show them some video. And so the staff of the hospital were treated to footage of their delusional patient performing at the Grammy Awards. They apologized, I guess gave him some oxygen, and they also gave him a $25 gift card. He's suing. Well, I can't blame him. I mean, can you imagine being in distress like that and you're treated in such a manner? Whoa. Um, I hate to tell you this, but the Pope's gone and done it again. You think he maybe is losing it a little bit? I mean, it's another old guy. I don't know. Uh, the Pope used, according to some, um, well, some anti-gay stuff. He did it again. He was talking to some group, and he suggested, let me see if I can find something more specific on it. He said, citing sources that were present, he said the Pope was saying that gay people are good guys and they have nice paths of faith. But if they want to be priests, they should instead be directed to a psychologist. And then he used that word, which I guess, according to this, is akin to faggot. He said, that gay men were likely to fail while exercising their ministry, and it was understood that what he was saying was that would be unable to remain celibate. Well, hey, can somebody break it to the Pope? I mean, I'm sorry. I don't, there cannot be like an accurate accounting of how many priests are gay or have been gay. But my guess, and forgive me if I'm offending anybody, is that it's a very large percentage of the priests. Absolutely. And anyone in their right mind knows it. And the gay priests are probably, again, nobody knows, are probably as capable of maintaining celibacy as the heterosexual priests, which is to say, not so much. That's my guess there too. When you have rules that defy human nature, odds are people are going to, fail. It has nothing to do with gay or straight. It has to do with one of the greatest human drives. And the absurdity of the church continuing to sort of live again in this, in their imaginations, in a world of, absolute uh, refusal to acknowledge reality. And then you have to imagine how screwed up, once you start with this kind of failure to acknowledge reality, nothing good uh, comes of it. Nothing good comes of it. But imagine the impact on the priests, the faithful, good priests who are gay and are forced to deny that and are forced to continue promulgating this big lie. It's just nothing is nothing good can come of it. And it's no wonder that there's these trip ups that occur when an institution is refusing to acknowledge reality and keeping up this absurd pretense. Milton just sent me something from, oh yeah, big shock here. Local Sinclair anchors read same shady script. Uh, the Sinclair Broadcast Group, they own, well, it says here, 185 local television stations. They own one here. What is that? On my thing, it's 22. I don't. Yeah, and I believe that's a Fox affiliate, right? Yeah. Well, that would make sense. Sinclair and Fox. And Sinclair actually forces their affiliates and their news operations to parrot the same crap. This is not unusual, but I'll see exactly what this one is about. It says here, this is from the New Republic, local television news broadcasters are airing suspiciously similar attacks on Joe Biden's mental acuity. It appears to be part of a coordinated effort. Well, duh. Dozens of their stations aired a segment citing that disgusting Wall Street Journal article that makes dubious attacks on Biden's age and mental awareness. The stations that aired the segment introduced it using startlingly similar, if not, identical language. Well, as we know, Rupert Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal, and Murdoch's cable news stations, Fox News and Fox Business, have been out there plying this crap too. Unbelievable. So this is so, it's just so upsetting in terms of what this means to what information people get, because the more these absolutely specious crap is put out there, the more obviously it gets a a toehold. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I guess again, it's what you do. It's a distraction. What you do when your guy, the guy you think should be the Führer, um, when he clearly is losing it. Not that he ever had it. But if you have seen, I mean, all you have to do is subject yourself every once in a while to actually listening to him babble at these speeches and rallies. Um, I was mentioning yesterday how, in the 100+ degree heat, he was complaining to the crowd, some of whose members were fainting and needing medical care, how nobody's worrying about me. I'm up here working. What a horrible, horrible human being. So I I don't know what the hell he was talking about because it makes zero sense. Those poor people that by the way, a huge number of them walked out. They left. He was telling them, babbling about things that made no sense. And if you haven't treated yourself to his story, which was incoherent, about if you're in a boat with a big battery and the boat is sinking, but there's a shark right there. And then he goes off he diverges, he says shark and says, hey, have you seen, there's been a lot of shark attacks and this, I mean, he's off and running. Oh, thank you, Milton. Sinclair owns Fox 53 and CW 22 in Pittsburgh. They own two of our TV stations. Sons of bitches. Anyway, they're propaganda outlets. It was just the most bizarre, talking about whether you be rather be electrocuted or eaten by a shark. And he talks about a shark eating some kid's leg. And it was insane. There was obviously, there was no tie in to anything of any import or concern. I don't think the folks, well, he was in Las Vegas, right? I don't think they worry about sharks in Las Vegas. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not good at geography, but I swear to God, I do not think that there is like an ocean, which I think sharks require. Oh my God. Margaret writes, as a young child, I wanted to be a nun because I was gay. Well, I mean, in that respect, yeah, I mean, duh. If you, yeah, rather be with your own gender and be in a respected situation, and yeah, I mean, what could be better than this kind of enforced gender segregation of nuns and priests? Oh, no. God help us all. Okay, okay. So I saw some very disturbing video of from New York City this week. There apparently is an exhibit, and I'm not sure where, in some building, I think in Manhattan. There is an exhibit honoring the, I don't know how many were there. Were there 500 or more of the mostly very young people who were at the that music festival in Israel on October 7th when the nice people from Hamas came calling and they killed hundreds and hundreds of them and took some of them and raped lots of them. And there is apparently an exhibit somewhere that fleshes out the victims. And that's all it is. It just, here are the people who died that day or were kidnapped and are hostages. And there was, I'm going to call him a mob. There was a mob of screaming, chanting sons of bitches outside of that exhibit, screaming anti-Semitic crap. There was one guy who he was like screaming something about Hitler should have wished he'd killed every single one of you, blah, 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 or Hitler coming. I mean, it's not even, there's nothing subtle here. And they're wearing masks and keffiyehs around their head. And it is one thing to say that your concern is for Palestinians living in Gaza right now, which is besieged, obviously. Besieged as a result of the carnage of October 7th at that music festival. The people in the mob outside the building were, when asked, many of them arguing that it never happened, that this is all a construct. It was an excuse. I mean, the madness, the insanity, the ugliness, the hate is just. So I was mentioning that, the right has their thugs and intimidators, and the left has their thugs as well. And these thugs, later, I saw another video, were taking the subway in New York, probably to get down there and scream about killing Jews. And before they got to that important venue, they're in a subway car, a whole bunch of them, with other people who were there. And one of them is screaming, "Are there any Zionists in here? If you're a Zionist, raise your hand." Nobody did. People had their heads down. They kept asking. And in fact, because these guys take their orders from a leader always, so one of them who says, "Are there any Zionists here?" And then the others, parroting him, say, "Are there any Zionists here?" So they're all screaming it. "Raise your hands, raise your hands." Now, I was thinking to myself, if I were in that subway car, would I have raised my hand? And I'm thinking no, because I would not want to be beaten up. I see a lot. I mean, I'll proudly say I'm a Zionist when I'm somewhere where it won't get me killed. This is what's happening in America. Thugs in groups. We call them mobs. Thugs that, filled with hate, eager for some level of combat, desiring to intimidate and focusing on specific groups. Now, New York City is home to an awful lot of Jews. But even when Jews have like a pretty big percentage of a population, they still are always a minority. I remember always hearing when I came here that Squirrel Hill is Jewish. Jews were never a majority of the population of Squirrel Hill. It's just that there was an accumulation of Jews, but Jews are always in the minority. Almost always. I mean, obviously, in a Jewish institution, that's not the case. But yeah, I saw somebody post something the other day. He was an Israeli, and he was saying, he was talking to American Jews and European Jews, and he was saying, hey guys, don't make the mistake that so many Jews made in the 30s. Don't make the same mistake. When the writing's on the wall, when you see it coming, get the hell out when you can. And I'm thinking, well, it's a little early for that. But he was suggesting, look, I understand if you think it's a little soon, but if you're wise, given the fact that this is the history of the Jewish people, and why should this time, your time, be any different? All those German Jews and European Jews were saying, but we're part of I fought in the German army. I have a thriving business here. My kids go to school. What? Yeah, same thing, same thing. And look what happened to them. So he was saying, how about just have a plan? And if you think Jews aren't talking about this, they are. Because if you know your history, you would be foolish to think it can't happen here. It has, for Jews, it has always happened. So he suggested the only safe place for a Jew is obviously in the only Jewish state, which is another reason why I got news for the kafila, whatever that is. Israel's going nowhere. Jews, that is their homeland. And I don't know. He suggested maybe just buying a little apartment somewhere in Israel. So you got a place that you can run to if you have the means to do that. There's no problem regarding citizenship because Israel takes in all Jews and their citizens. And if this country goes south, any further south, I think you're going to start seeing, as you have in Europe, by the way, in France, in the UK, Jews packing their bags as they've done forever and leaving. The fact that the anti-Semites want us to leave is reason enough for me to stay. I wouldn't give him the pleasure. Okay, sorry to go to such a dark place, but that dark place happens to be my country, the United States of America. And I love it and all its imperfections, and I have no intention of leaving.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.